Thanks for existing, don't come. That's what my dad texted me on Christmas. I had been paying for rent, food, and bills while living with my sister. That night, she told our parents that I was just squatting. I didn't say anything, but the next morning her key wouldn't work, and there were two wrapped boxes on the doorstep. One of the boxes was still moving. It was Christmas Eve when I received that short, harsh message from my dad, no greetings or explanations, just 6 cold words that made it clear I wasn't welcome. I sat on my room's floor, staring at the screen hoping the message would change into something kinder. It didn't. Everyone else, my parents and my sister, were celebrating together as a family while I was left out again. For the past year and a half, I had been paying for everything. My sister, Alina, said she lost her job, and I quietly covered all the bills because that's what family does. That night, she left for dinner at our parents' house with barely a word. Before leaving, she casually mentioned to someone, "In case they ask," I said, "You're just squatting here," reminding everyone that her name wasn't on the lease. I froze, still holding the dishes in soapy water. "Wait, you told them that?" she asked with an eye roll. "Yeah," I replied softly. "I just didn't want them thinking I'm letting you live here rent-free. I'm paying the rent, you know." She gave a short reply, but they already knew what I had said. After she left, I sat at the kitchen table looking at the cheap Christmas lights hanging around and wondered how many more years I would keep paying for people who decided I didn't belong. By midnight, I made up my mind. I grabbed my toolkit from the closet and changed the locks without hesitation or guilt. When I went to sleep, the apartment felt lighter, quieter, and more like it was finally mine. The next morning, around 8:17 a.m., I heard keys fumbling at the door, a click, a curse, another click, and then silence. I didn't open the door, but I left something for her, 2 carefully wrapped gift boxes on the welcome mat. One was a medium box with a neat ribbon, and the other was a small box that was still vibrating. That box had money in it for groceries, rent, and even her student loans. When she got fired again, I never questioned her, I just stepped in. I worked extra shifts, sold my old laptop, stopped traveling, and even stopped dating. I convinced myself this was temporary and that as a good brother, I should help her, but temporary became normal, and normal turned into a heavy burden. What could you say to someone who lets you pay their bills, then tells your parents you're just squatting? I should have seen it coming. Alina always had a way with words. As a kid she cried to get her way, and as an adult she cried her way into everyone's wallet. To our parents, she was the creative soul with a messy life, while I was seen as too serious and too controlled. But really, that's what happens when love comes with conditions. I stopped going to family dinners months earlier, not because I didn't want to see them, but because I couldn't pretend anymore. Every conversation became a guilt trip. "You're the stable one, she's fragile, why can't you be nicer?" The truth was, I was tired of paying for everything, tired of being the only adult taking care of things, and tired of living in an apartment I owned only to be told I was a burden. Then something finally snapped just 3 weeks before Christmas. We were sitting in the living room after I finished a 12-hour shift, and I had picked up takeout for both of us. I set the bag on the table, and Alina didn't even look away from her phone. "Can you Venmo me?" she asked casually, "for my part of the takeout?" I blinked in surprise. "You mean the takeout I bought with my money, while you haven't paid rent in 3 months?" She shrugged, still on her phone. "Yeah, but you chose to do that. You've been asking me for my share all year." "Yeah," I replied, "no one forced you." And that's when I realized, she never felt any guilt. She wasn't using me out of desperation, she was using me because I let her. A week later, I found my credit card bill. It wasn't hers, even though the charges were for her shopping sprees at places like Sephora, Apple, and Zara. The bill was in my name, $6,438.72. I called the credit card company, and they confirmed that the account had been opened with my information. She had stolen my identity. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I gathered evidence, took screenshots, and watched her live carefree, buying new boots, an Apple Watch, and laughing during her FaceTime calls with friends. I decided to wait until New Year's, even February, to let the pain build up. Then on Christmas, I got the message from my dad, "Thanks for existing, don't come." That night, while Alina was enjoying wine, she smirked. "You can't expect them to see you as family when you act like a tenant, you don't belong." So I changed the locks. I left her the gifts I'd bought her, because I wasn't cruel, and added one more box. In that box was a printed copy of the credit card statement with her name marked in red. and a flash drive with audio recordings of her bragging about how easy I was to take advantage of. I set the phone on vibrate so it kept buzzing, hoping she would feel even a little of what I had felt all year, confusion and shock. Later, I was reheating leftovers in the kitchen when I heard loud banging at the door. It wasn't just knocking, it was as if someone wanted to break it down. I felt calm as I slowly opened the door. There stood Alina with messy hair and smudged makeup, anger written all over her face. "What is this?" she screamed, holding the still vibrating silver box like a bomb. I replied calmly, "It's a Christmas present." It was vibrating, I know. "Did you open it?" She was stunned and then said, "You should," as I stepped aside. "Come in, since you don't have keys anymore." Alina burst into the room, dropped the box on the coffee table, and untied the ribbon. She opened the box and found printed screenshots of text messages where she had called me a freeloader and a walking paycheck, a flash drive labeled "For Dad, play this if you still have a spine," and a note saying, "Your lease is up, emotionally and otherwise." She glared at me. "You're heartless." "No," I said, "just done." At that moment, my phone rang. It was Dad calling on speaker. "Son, what is going on? Your sister just showed us what you left her," he said. "That was cruel. What happened to family?" I asked. He snapped, "You've been so cold, you isolate yourself. You even told me not to come." I interrupted, "And guess what?" Alina grabbed the phone. "Dad, he's gone completely nuts. He changed the locks. He's stalking me. He planted." "Please," I took the phone back, "tell him what's really in that box." After a pause, I continued, "Dad, do you know whose name was used to open new credit accounts? Do you know whose name has $6,438 in debt?" There was silence, then Dad asked, "Is that true?" "No," shouted Alina, "he's making it up to get attention." I continued, "Then why does Capital One show her email on an account with my social security number? Why are there receipts from stores with my name on them?" When no one answered, I walked over to a shelf and pulled out a small black speaker. "Is this it?" I pressed play. Her recorded voice played. "He's so easy to manipulate. He always feels guilty. I could burn down the apartment and he'd still pay my phone bill." Her face went pale. "That's out of context," she said. "Really? What's the context?" I asked. "She deserves to suffer," she whispered. At that moment, there was a knock, a soft one, at the door. I opened it to find Mom and Mike, Alina's ex-boyfriend, standing there. Mike said, "I need to talk to both of you." His voice trembled with anger rather than fear. "I just found out," he said, looking at me, "that someone used my name too, 2 iPhones, a hotel booking. They even called me for payment today." He then turned to Alina. "Was that you?" She hesitated. "Why would I do that?" Mike looked at the box on the table and said, "I think you should leave." Alina snapped, "Now what?" "I'm staying," Mike declared. "If you'll let me stay a few days. Maybe we've both been played by the same person, and it's time to stop." Alina was shocked. "You're siding with him? I'm done with liars." She stood there in silence, without her usual emotional act. "Don't worry," I said as I tossed her coat on a chair. "Your things are in the hallway, next to the trash. Guess which is which." She left, and I finally heard silence. No more threats, no more guilt, just her footsteps and the sound of the elevator. The morning after, the silence in the apartment felt earned. I held a mug of reheated coffee, watching the steam rise, feeling a calm emptiness instead of guilt. Mike was asleep on the couch. When he woke up, he saw my open laptop and said, "You're working already? I'm getting my money back." "What do you mean? Are you pressing charges?" I asked. "More than that," he replied. I turned the screen around. "This is going to be official. Step 1, the claim." I had already gathered all the proof, folders filled with documents, screenshots of statements, login records, bank history, and receipts of every charge she made using my identity. I filed an identity theft report with the police and contacted the financial institutions. Capital One flagged the account and began a fraud investigation. By Friday, I received an email confirming that I would get back $6,438.72. I leaned back and exhaled. I wasn't finished yet. Step 2, I calculated the costs. I made a spreadsheet. 18 months of paying for both of us, $9.50 for rent, $180 for utilities, about $400 for groceries every month, plus her random expenses. When I finished, the total came to $17,892. This didn't even count the emotional damage, the weeks of skipped meals, or the double shifts. I saved everything and called a lawyer. Step 3, the lawsuit. I'm not just suing for the stolen credit, I want compensation, I told the lawyer. She lived off me for over a year, and our parents helped her. I have the paperwork. The lawyer, a smart man with expensive shoes, reviewed the evidence and said, "This is more than identity theft, it's long-term financial exploitation. We have a strong case." Step 4, the explosion. 3 weeks later, on a rainy Wednesday, 3 certified letters arrived at my parents' house, one for Alina, one for Mom, and one for Dad, all from the lawyer's office. My phone rang soon after. "What are you doing?" my mom demanded on the phone. "We helped you, didn't we? You're suing us after everything we did?" I replied, "We're family, but you also signed documents and added my name to bills without my consent. That's fraud. You even told me not to come to Christmas." The line fell silent. Then her voice dropped. "We raised you. I paid for everything. I was only supporting, not staying." Step 5, an ally. A few days later, my grandmother called. I hadn't heard from her in months, since Alina had said, "Nana's tired of your drama," but now she spoke firmly. "I saw the lawsuit and the bank statement. Your dad cashed out over $9,000 from a savings bond that was in your name, to pay for Alina's car." I was shocked. "Well, there isn't a bond anymore. I froze what was left and moved the account back to you," she said. "Also, I changed my will. You'll get my house when the time comes because you never asked for anything and you kept the receipts." In court, Alina came in wearing beige to look sympathetic. Mom wore black. Dad avoided eye contact. My lawyer went through all the evidence, text messages, recordings, identity theft, unauthorized financial accounts, and more. Alina tried to cry. Mom seemed confused. Dad looked tired, but the judge was clear. When the judge asked my mom if it was true that she had added my name to financial documents without permission, my mom finally whispered yes. The ruling was quick. I got $13,000 in restitution. My fraudulent debts were cleared, the court paid the costs, and our records got a formal warning. 2 weeks after that, I received a handwritten letter from someone named Alan as writing. Inside was a photo of me and Alina as children under a Christmas tree. I wrote on the back, "You let go first," and then burned the photo. After 3 months, my parents never contacted me again, not a text, call, or birthday card, and honestly, that felt good. I finally didn't have to explain myself or prove I wasn't a disappointment. My apartment finally felt truly mine, a place where I owned everything, without someone treating me like I was just extra baggage. It was the same old apartment, but now there was real peace and quiet. Some people ask, wasn't it hard? Wasn't it cruel to cut off your whole family? I always answer the same, it was necessary. For years, I shrank myself to make everyone comfortable, smiling through insults, writing checks when I should have set limits, and letting them call me selfish because I wouldn't give everything while they gave me nothing but guilt. The real cruelty was letting it go on for so long. When I stopped being the obedient son and generous brother, I realized they didn't really miss me, they just missed what I provided. Then one day in May, I got an email from someone named Tessa, a friend of Alina's. The subject was "Your sister isn't doing well." It said, "She's couch hopping and lost her job again. You ruined her life, thought you'd like to know." I stared at the email for a long time before deleting it. I didn't care enough to go back. My last encounter with my dad was at a gas station. We made eye contact across the pumps. He looked older and smaller, like he had no more excuses. He came over slowly and said, "You look good." I nodded. Then he said quietly, "Your mother's still angry. She says you ruined Christmas." I replied, "That's funny, you started it with 'Don't come.'" He sighed. "Family fights." I said, "Families fight for each other. You fought for Alina, you never fought for me." He couldn't answer, so I got in my car and drove away, feeling finally at peace. This wasn't about revenge, it was about freedom. Let me be clear, I wasn't looking to hurt anyone or prove who was right, even though I was. I needed to let go of a system where love was only given if you provided something in return. I had spent years sacrificing my own needs to protect others. People like Alina survived by taking and blaming others, but I finally stopped absorbing all the hurt. When I walked away, I felt truly alive. 2 weeks ago, I received another package without a return address. Inside was an envelope containing one photograph. The photo showed me with Ellie, Alina's daughter from years ago, sitting on my shoulders and laughing. On the back of the photo, written in shaky handwriting, were the words, "I'm sorry for how my mom treated you. Thank you for everything, Ellie." I stared at the words until they blurred. I still don't know how the note got to me, maybe through my grandmother or just fate. But that note made everything feel worthwhile. I keep that photo in my desk drawer not to hold on to the past, but to remind me that walking away doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you finally start caring about yourself. And that's not revenge, that's freedom.